compensation for £1.8 billion. However, the UK Kodak pension plan paid £490 million to the US parent company to get it out of bankruptcy in return for Kodak's personal film business. So Kodak was enabled to emerge from bankruptcy on the 3rd of September of this year. Consequently, the claim by the British Pension Fund was dropped, and the outcome was that those who held pensions in Kodak would receive lower benefits but had effectively exchanged debt for equity. So now Alexia and I will talk about the turning points of both Kodak and Dyson.
So the first important turning point in Kodak's recent history is the invention of the first digital camera in 1975 by its own engineer, Steve Sasson. The reaction from Kodak to that invention was quoted by the Time, "That's cute, but don't tell anyone about it." The reason for that reaction is that Kodak considered itself a chemical-based film and paper business, and they saw the digital camera as a threat to the photographic film business they had. Therefore, digital's potential was never fully fulfilled by Kodak, and they saw, for example, other companies' success growing, like Sony in 1981 introducing their first electronic camera, and in 2001 becoming the first, taking the first place in the market in the camera sales.
Now, another turning point which has led to the demise of Kodak was their creation of the Advantix preview film. So rather than make advancements towards what was the inevitable and foreseeable future where digital would replace film, they decided to use digital to improve film. They did this through the Advantix preview film, which cost a total of $500 million to develop and launch. A key feature of this preview film was that it allowed its users to preview their shots and indicate how many prints they wanted. However, it still used film and emphasised print, as Kodak was in the photo, film, chemical and paper business. So the question was asked, why buy a digital camera and still pay for both film and prints, as we now know that in today's market, with a digital camera, there is only the requirement for prints.
Another important turning point in Kodak's recent history is the success of the Japanese company Fujifilm. At the beginning, both were lucrative name monopolies in their own countries. However, Kodak became a complacent monopolist in America, and Fujifilm exposed that weakness by capturing the official film title for the Los Angeles Olympic Games in 1984. Which was usually Kodak's role. Moreover, when Fujifilm entered the US market offering lower priced film and supplies, Kodak didn't react the way they should because they thought the Americans would never desert their brand. And that really shows that Kodak failed to diversify like Fujifilm.
Okay, so now Alexia and I will talk about the turning points of Dyson that have made it a roaring success.
So first of all, the creation of Dyson. It started by the creation of James Dyson, the G-Force, which is also known as the dual cyclone vacuum cleaner. It was created in 1983, and it was known for its famous quote, "Say goodbye to the bag." However, James Dyson was unable to sell it in UK or US markets since no manufacturer or distributor would, because of the threat it would be to the valuable market of replacement glass bags. Therefore, he launched it in Japan, and it was licensed by Affix Inc. Company. And in 1986, he finally got his first US patent on the idea. And in 1993, he used the income he made from the G-Force to create the Dyson Company.
A further invention by Dyson which has led to its success is the wheel ball. Now, as Alexia previously mentioned, the dual cyclone vacuum cleaner was the traditional vacuum cleaner, which James Dyson realised that these conventional wheeled vacuums can be awkward to steer as they only move in straight lines, whereas if a ball was to be used in the steering of the vacuum, it would be easier to use as it advocates accessibility as it can move in any direction. Now we have a short video to show you, which was the advertising video released by Dyson when this product was launched.
It's very simple. 4 fixed wheels like to go in straight lines, whereas a ball can move in any direction. So a clear choice. Easy turns with minimal effort. We'll do it the old-fashioned way.
One of the most important invention of Dyson was the airblade that you most commonly know since it's used in our everyday life. And it just shows the big success of Dyson in every kind of types of products.
Now, a fundamental question which we have asked in our presentation is, as Kodak failed to innovate successfully, we wondered whether Dyson would follow in their footsteps or whether it would continue to innovate successfully. And our answer was yes, due to a recent article which was released in the Telegraph about the Dyson's invention of the silent hairdryer, which will be known as the hair blade. In this article in the Daily Telegraph, it described how Dyson is now developing a new type of hairdryer which will be much quieter. So the engineers at Dyson have realised that traditional hairdryers, which we all use, are just an open tube with a fan drawing fluid into the tube. These are consequently noisy unless a big, slow fan is used. However, if this type of fan was to be used, a large motor is required which will increase the weight of the hairdryer. So the Dyson engineers have developed a long fluid flow path with ducting arrangements which will reduce noise as the flow of air is increased due to the long flow path. Along with this, they are also going to introduce materials which will be used to soundproof the product and reduce vibration, which will ultimately lead to a much quieter hairdryer.
All right, so you guys have heard a lot of Kodak and Dyson so far, and you can take a lot from it, you can take all these different things, but it's really important to understand the landscape that these two companies are in, the market that they're both competing in. Now, they might not be necessarily directly competing over same products, but they are competing in the consumer electronics market, which is an exponentially growing market with very fickle consumers. Now, you have all this information up here. Who's here has heard of Moore's Law? All right, well, I'm not alone, okay. But for all you guys who do not know what Moore's Law is, essentially Gordon Moore, back in 1965, he was a co-founder of Intel. He predicted that around every 2 years, the number of transistors on a given circuit board will double. And up until now, he has been correct with that prediction. The consumer electronics companies that you know today, Apple, you know Sony, Panasonic, Toshiba, all these companies were founded from startups. And startups today are becoming less and less common. Dyson was a startup himself. He started in his own garage, just like Steve Jobs started with Steve Wozniak in his own garage. Now, it's important for these startups because the only way that they can be successful, the only way they can grab some traction in the market is in order to be innovative, in order to make a change. And that's where Dyson has been able to be very successful. The rise and fall of all these different electronic consumer companies is not particular to just Kodak. Xerox actually configured the graphics user interface that you might use on an everyday computer. But Apple and Microsoft were the ones that were able to take that idea and make some money off of it, just like Kodak had lost the digital sensor to Sony. Now Mickey and I are going to talk about some management lessons that you can take from Kodak in order to benefit and learn from their experiences.
Lenin made this quote which said, "Capitalists often invent the technology that destroys them." And the reason why we're using this quote is because this is exactly what happened to Kodak. The first management lesson we can learn from this is risk-taking. managers at Kodak were unable to take risks. And initially, the organizational culture was keep taking risks and continuous improvement, but they were not able to do this, and this was the root of the downfall for Kodak. The second is the inappropriate leadership style. They had the laissez-faire leadership style, which let workers work freely, innovate constantly, but then communication was very poor within the business. So messages were not clearly passed. Then the managers also had low faith in the workers, because Steve Sasson in 1975, he worked in Kodak, he came up with the idea of the digital camera, but the managers at Kodak were like, that's cute, don't tell anyone, let's stick to the film camera. Then lastly, they had poor marketing strategies. They went into the digital market in the 90s, and Fujifilm, Canon, and Sony already had a platform for marketing, and they were used to film camera marketing, and the biggest customer base was actually women. So when they got in the 90s for the digital camera, the biggest customer base was actually men, and they were unable to compete with Fujifilm, Sony, and Canon.
Now, on the other hand, we have Dyson. Dyson, like I had said before, is a company based on innovation. They take their products, and it's an everyday product: a vacuum cleaner, a hair dryer, a fan, a way to dry your hands. All these things that you found every day in your life that you never thought twice to potentially, oh, this could be done better, is exactly what Dyson did with his company. He has become the symbol for his company, as well as the ball vacuum cleaner. I'm sure everyone's probably seen that commercial. I know in the United States we do. They're very popular, that commercial in the United States. And James Dyson and that ball vacuum cleaner has become a symbol. It's become a way for people to almost invest in their company, because they understand that it's something different. It's something that they're not necessarily giving into the big dogs, because everyone knows that James Dyson came from nothing, and that appeals to people in a sense. He's been able to have such a successful business because he's been able to streamline his business structure. He's been able to have very, very good communication throughout his company in order for employees to be able to speak to managers about problems, anything that they might have an idea for. They have a very, very open relationship throughout the company, and also they reward their employees remarkably well. The effective leadership style that Dyson has showed throughout his company and since its startup day has led to its eventual success in the market that even Kodak in their own market, they couldn't remain successful.
Sorry, we just had a technical difficulty.
It's fine. That was the end anyways, guys, but we appreciate you guys listening, and I hope you enjoyed it, and at least took something from Kodak and Dyson, so that way you can know why these companies were able to be successful in their own time. Thank you.